Oh, no, he didn't.
Girl, yes, he did.
What it do? It's the podcast. Oh no, girl. Yes, welcome back. Thank y'all for listening. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe not just to the podcast. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can watch us do this exact same thing you're listening to, but see us do it. I would be curious at how cute we were when we're talking. Personally. But also don't forget, we also are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And Patreon, you get more behind the scenes. So I am in a couple of Facebook groups, one of them being Black Women Who Love Trader Joe's. And they have this thing where it's like Talk Your Ish Friday. And it ain't got to have nothing to do with Trader Joe's products or food or recipes. It's just you can post about anything. So last week, somebody posted something about what's up with 45-year-old women dating 25-year-old dudes. And so you had a range of responses from women. You know, someone was like, a 25-year-old can't do nothing but change the oil in my car or cut my grass or mess up your credit or, you know, break your back and leave you a headache and all these different things. And then you had women saying, I got 3 grown sons, and if any old woman tried to date my sons, I would beat up myself or get my daughters to fight them, you know. So I am a 46-year-old woman who has, I'm not dating right now. I'm taking a year off, you know, I'm on my hiatus, but I have enjoyed a peaceful companionship with a much younger man. And I've referred to this in an earlier episode from this season. But I want to talk about, you know, in reading all the different responses, I did comment in that group and I just said, you know, beyond whatever people think the physical realities would be of such a situation, it's a difference in the emotional connection, I think. Now, I will speak from my personal experience. I do not think all young men are as mature as my peaceful companion. So what I've shared of the peaceful companion, what is your assessment?
Yeah, he seems very, very peaceful. That's the bottom line, to be honest.
You know, that's true. He is peaceful. No. He ain't a whole lot of rah-rah, or he's just not problematic really at all. Okay. And so what's interesting is I've dated men more than twice his age, and it's something that's always problematic. Mm-hmm. So my curiosity is, what is there a correlation? You and I have both dated guys our age and older, and the fact that we're still single, not saying it's always the man's fault. Sometimes it's just not a good match, it's not a good connection, or it just doesn't work out. Right. But in having a peaceful companion so much younger than me now, part of it is my understanding is that generation, they are a lot more open about talking about their feelings. They're a lot more open in addressing challenges. You know, you hear young people talk about mental health, or right. They'll talk about depression, or they'll talk about things they're going through to where, and I'm older than you, but that wasn't nothing that we was talking about at that age.
Mm-mm. Correct. I think that is a bonus to the generation that's coming after us. And for the most part, I do believe that. There probably are some immature,
oh, for sure,
early 20s age men out there, or whatever. But it does give me hope that your peaceful companion gives me hope that these men are coming up in a society where it's okay to express your feelings. It's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to get help and express a need for mental healthness. So, I would have to agree with your assessment about that, though. I think that's a major issue with the men our age and older is they're missing that mental health aspect. And we all need it, right? We all need, right, some guidance and stuff like that. It's not just, good enough to pray about it and say, okay, whatever. But I think that's where you see that huge disconnect when we have these Facebook debates and, the Kevin Samuels of the world and all that kind of stuff. There's a huge disconnect because we're not connected to ourselves mentally, and we're not healthy in that space. So we can't be healthy in relationships, period.
I agree 100%. And sometimes I have shared with my peaceful companion that he's very advanced as far as his emotional maturity, and how even if it's something that he's expressing as a challenge, he can express that it's a challenge, And I told him, I said, but, you don't realize, he thinks because he's young and broke and still trying to figure out what he's going to be when he grows up. I'm like, it's 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, young, still broke and trying to figure out what they're going to be when they grow up. Don't let that make you feel a certain kind of way. But, when I told him, I said, but you are very elevated in how you think about things and express things. He's had therapy, and so I'm like, but that's positive. That's a good thing. And he almost said that he had therapy. I was like, yeah, but I've had to have therapy. I'm like, everybody should have to have therapy because it has served you well because of how you communicate things. And he has a concern. He has a natural concern for me that most of the men I've dated have never expressed. And I can tell you 2, 3, 4 situations that he has expressed a concern for my behaviors that nobody's ever expressed before. And nothing too drastic or challenging. But
right.
I can think of something like simple. One time he wanted to check my health app on my iPhone to see how many steps I was getting a day, because we were just talking about, getting healthy. And I didn't even know my phone tracked steps. I know you have an iPhone watch and all that, or Apple Watch, whatever. And so I said, well, I didn't know it tracked steps. I said, most of the time when I go walk with the dogs, I don't even have my phone. I leave it in the house. I take the dogs out. And he was like, well, why are you going to walk without your phone? I'm like, well, it's not like I'm on the phone walking. He said, but something can happen to you, or you can see something happen. Like, you shouldn't just leave the house and not have your phone on you. And it was just like, good point. I probably shouldn't leave the house without my phone. Something could happen and I wouldn't have my phone. So it's little simple things like that he will express a concern and offer. We've been to restaurants and I've had a drink or a margarita and he'll say, well, you gonna drink and drive now? And I'm like, everybody in this restaurant about to drink and drive, and I'm like, but there's legal limits and you don't drink too much or whatever. But he's hypersensitive to things like, or texting and driving. And, but it's interesting because I receive it as genuine concern for me. And it feels different than anything that I have felt from the men I've ever dated, to where, it's like, hey, can you be curious enough to see why I've called you twice today? Maybe you would call me back to see maybe something might be wrong, or am I okay? And I don't know how much of it is, even beyond talking about young men, but just young people in general. I think back when I was in high school, if somebody had a sexual preference that was not considered the norm, that was a secret, or it was a gossip or a rumor. And now young people have same-sex prom dates and they're out, and they're out younger. They're out, because they are kind of involved from having to pretend or having to be shut off from who they are or their feelings or their thoughts. You still got how many young people talk about their traumas or their, and you're like, wow, this is language that we weren't using.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of self-awareness that they have that we didn't have the privilege of growing up with. And that's just a part of the nation. I mean, the world changing, society changing and stuff like that, but they do embrace things. I would like to think they embrace things that society used to seem as different, not necessarily bad, but different, as part of society. Like we're accepting to everyone. And so that, I think that is part of it too. Our older generation is not having
yeah, but you know what? But we've talked about how both of our parents, our mothers, have said we're more advanced than they were. In our thought and our beliefs and what we will and will not do and what we will and will not accept. So I think each generation.
It's hard for us to see it, from the generation previous to us, but we can definitely see it in the generation that's to come, behind us. So,
wait a minute. I think we can definitely see it from the generation before us, because we were like, I don't see how grandma did that.
Oh yeah, no.
What? There ain't no way in the world I can do that. I think we see.
I didn't mean we can't see it. I mean, it's a different perspective though. Yeah. When you see, when you think you've arrived and then you look back and you're like, oh, well, you know what I mean? You see what they see in us in the next generation. It's like, oh yeah, I never thought about it that way. I didn't, we didn't question that, or we didn't, use that term to describe that. It's amazing. It's a different perspective looking back.
Oh, for sure. And that's the thing that it's like, it's definitely positive, and it's also about being willing and able to evolve. It's kind of an old fashioned term of like, hey, get with the times, but it's a real thing to where I think a lot of men in this society, and especially men of a certain age, have not gotten with the times in the realm of mental health and self-care. And that's probably where women my age, we're into that space now. We're going to therapy. We're talking about the traumas. We're trying to heal some stuff, and we're not just pointing the finger at like, oh, these men ain't nothing. It's like, you know what? I realize this might be my issue, or I still have PTSD about this. I need to heal. You know, that's kind of the buzzword. I'm healing. And so many men, I feel like, are stuck in that way of, one, we don't talk about our problems. Two, ain't nothing wrong with me, and to use the term mental health, make it seem like I'm crazy, you know. And it's like, no, it's just like if you go to the gym to be healthy, or you eat the right things to be healthy, you got to do something about your mind, you know. And all the stuff you put in that's poisonous, whether it's experiences that were not your fault, or childhood experiences, that still is affecting the health of how you think and how you function. And you should address it and deconstruct some of those ideas and say, hey, that is what I used to believe, but now that I'm at this place, I don't think that's true anymore, or that doesn't serve me well, or I see a different way that this could be. And I think for me, in my experience of dating men my age, is this common theme of I'm busy being a man, and if I'm busy, I want to be the man. And it's kind of like, but let's think about this. Like, just because I make money and I have a house and I come and go as I please, that does not make me masculine. Like, there's nothing about that that's masculine, but because your idea of what a man is in your mind, which maybe you were a little boy when you learned it, that's what makes you a man. So the fact that you're busy and making money, whatever, you out here doing man stuff and you're busy, and I should respect that and fall back. And that's when they say you can't be submissive. And it's like, but all of this thinking is wrong. It is not true or accurate. But I can see if you thought that when you were a little boy, because you didn't understand the nuance of men and women and relationships in life. Because it's pretty black and white. Yeah, it's pretty black and white as a little kid, you know. I remember thinking all dogs were boys and all cats were girls, you know.
I remember that thought.
Right.
I had gender for color. I mean, for crayons too. I assigned gender roles to crayons.
More than likely. And so that's what I'm saying. We all had that stuff growing up, that it was something that we just thought we knew. And as you grow up, you're like, that's not true. You can be a boy.
But for some reason,
you can be a male cat, you know. That's weird. It's probably most people.
But that's not equating to men growing up when it comes to the dynamics of the family and men and women in general. And I don't, you know, it's a sad, I think we're in a sad state. It's really sad. You know,
it's really sad. I mean, I'm on hiatus because it's sad.
I know. No, well, I'm just saying this. Even I don't know, because like every other day you can send me a video of some man saying something idiotic, and I don't know if it's just they're loud. But it's like it comes from different angles so much that it's hard for me to not accept this as the truth of how many men feel about women and their roles. And you know, like the other day you sent me a video about this guy saying, once you get married, you need to delete your Instagram account, because if you have an Instagram, that means you're cheating. Like, that's a toxic.
And he's saying this out loud of his head.
Yeah, like I mean.
But
that says more about you than any. Like I can look at my Instagram now and say, who in the world would think I was cheating because I had an Instagram account?
Well, guess what? I can look at my Instagram and see pictures of me. I post a lot of selfies. I post my outfits of the day, my look of the day. Again, what does that have to do with my relationship status? If I'm not on there saying, hey, I'm looking for a man, I ain't cheating. You know? And so it's just crazy.
That's the bottom line. I don't care if I am in a bathing suit one day on the beach. If I didn't say, hey, come holler at me, I'm available.
Right. And so that's the thing. It's like, but again, maybe
that's more your problem.
But listen, I'm thinking about, you know, we've talked about this before, you know, the traumas that men will talk about from their youth that they still are holding as valid information. Because this girl, when I was 12, she kissed my friend on the playground. They don't trust women today. And so I think it's so much of like, and I think it happens for men and women. So we're not saying it doesn't happen for women too. We're just talking about our experience of dating men. So let's be clear. We're not saying this doesn't happen for women. But it's this idea of when do we get to elevate our thought process? I have been disappointed in understanding that men that are my age and older, or in my dating range, who I formerly was dating 50-year-olds, that when I was younger, I thought, well, when you grow up, we all mature and it won't be as hard as it was when I was younger. And these people are just getting older. They're not getting more mature. And that's really, really disappointing, because it's like, well, what's the point of getting older if you're not getting wiser, if you're not learning, if you're not growing? All of us can look back at something we said or did or thought when we were younger and be embarrassed about it today. We'd be like, ooh, let me tell you what I used to think about this. Ooh, let me tell you what I used to do. I can't believe I used to do that. But it's so many men I've engaged with that are still doing the thing they did. And I've had men, older men, 48, 50, still running through women. And I'm like, I can get it if you were younger and that was like, ooh, this is so exciting, I can get it. But I'm like, it's falling from the sky. At what point
does that become old?
Does that get old? And so if you're a certain age and that just hadn't gotten old, it's like, well, are you
it's just the most unattractive thing ever.
It is. I was trying to tell you about one of my friends. You're like, stop telling me. I didn't want
to think of him in that light. I just don't.
But you know what? But I think it actually serves, as crazy as it sounds, I think the way he is in that way serves our friendship, because it will always protect us as friends. I would never think, because I love him so much as my friend, that I would ever need to cross that line. So it has served more than its purpose for me. But I think of my young peaceful companion, we're not dating, we're not in a relationship, we're not together. So I don't know what he's doing outside of any time that I talk to him or spend with him. It is none of my business. It is none of my interest. I'm just not into it. But at the same time, based on his interactions with me is the difference. And I think with the older men or men my age, it's their interactions with me is the problem. It's not the when I ain't talking to you and looking, I don't know what you're doing, I don't care. It's the when you are interacting with me is the problem. And I don't know. I don't think that means you need to go date a younger man, for sure. Yeah, I do not think that. And I've told all my friends. I'm
not saying that's the answer, no.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's the answer. And even with my friends, when I tell them things that my peaceful companion says or does, I'm clear to say, now, I don't think that means you need to get a younger man, but I do think it means be open to the possibilities of where concern and care can come from. And it might be it probably more than likely is not coming from any direction you've been looking. It might be somebody that might be a different race. It might be somebody from a different demographic. It might be somebody you just ain't paid attention. I have a friend, we recently reconnected, and he is a Black man and he's gay and he's my age. He's 47 and he's single, and he's been single for a very long time. He has a white friend who is interested in him and who he likes. They talk all the time. They're good friends. And the guy is pursuing him. And I asked him, I said, so why, what's the issue? He said, well, he's white. And I said, okay, so what's the issue? He's like, well, I just don't want to give up on the Black man. And and I said, no shade. And I don't think 47 is old, because I'm right here with you. But at some point you're going to have to call the time of death on that one.
You got to call the time of death. You just got to explore different things.
Have your life partner, right? I'm not going to keep sitting over here holding and waiting for something that hasn't happened yet, when somebody could potentially be that thing for me. And that's all I'm saying. And it might look different. I'm enjoying that in this season of being on a hiatus from dating, because I just was exhausted from my last year of dating men my age, high value men, successful men, busy men. I was just exhausted. I just don't want to do it anymore. And somehow this young man came into my life, and he has been a benefit to it. He has literally been an asset to my emotional health. And surprisingly so. And so when people talk about a young man and an older woman, they naturally go to a physical thing. They naturally go to, oh, well, he doing this to her, or that, and it's like, I don't know that that's the case for all situations. I will not speak about but I'm saying for me, when I think about it, and when I think about this in 10 years or 20 years or 30 years from now, I'm going to be talking about how if he knows I'm driving, he ain't gonna text me, so I won't text him back. That I will not go for a walk anymore without my phone. The things that he has imparted, and none of this is like, again, oh, I never heard of that. It's just
old sage wisdom, yeah.
Right. And that's what I tell you guys all the time is I am very clear that everything my peaceful companion does is basic. It is basic. And that lets me know that I have been neglected and emotionally abused, because this basic bare minimum that this young man is doing is extraordinary. It's unique. It's new. And that's how I know it's been a problem. And I tell you, I get mad. I be like, I am so annoyed. This young man said this, this, and this. And ain't nobody ever said that was over 45. I can tell this young man, I have a show. Last week I had a show. He says, I'm sure you would do well and exceed expectations. Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Somebody said,
I mean, the biggest part of that is you don't pose a threat to his ego. Now, whether that's him, whether that's just who he is, or is because of his age, I don't know. But that is the big, you know what I mean? Because there have been men that you have dated, you posed a threat to their ego. They could not stand to be in the room with you, and you get to shine.
That's so interesting.
It bothered them. And we know that in hindsight, we knew what the problem was. We didn't know the issue.
We didn't know
why you create friction right now. But, it's because I was shining too bright. Oh, okay.
Oh, well, you know what, friend? You just said something. I didn't think about it in that way, but I have said that he's not intimidated by me.
And it's kind of the same thing.
That's the same thing. No, it's 100% the same thing. I'm saying when you say it that way, I never thought about it that way, but I know I have said, he's not, one example I gave about something he did for me, like I said, I'm not saying he ain't got no money, but I'm saying I ain't got no money.
He's young. Yeah.
He works though. He works a lot. And, but he bought me flowers for Valentine's Day. And I appreciated that so much, because he could have just talked himself out of doing anything, because he could have felt, well, I can't afford what she like, or she's had nicer things, or she buys herself flowers every week anyway. I'm not going to do that thing. He did that thing based on how he felt. And what's ironic is I had never gotten anything for Valentine's Day before. And I didn't even realize that till after he gave me those flowers, and I was telling him I was going to press them and dry them. He was like, well, you buy yourself flowers all the time. And I was like, I've never got anything for Valentine's Day. And I didn't even realize that until I said it. And he didn't buy me those flowers because he knew I hadn't gotten anything for Valentine's Day. So it's those little moments where he did what he could do and what he felt to express, what he wanted to express. It went, well, I know you can buy yourself that anyway. So
yeah. Because that's what the men our age do. They look at us and like, oh, well, she can afford that. I'm not going to do that for her. Or she can,
I'm not the man.
She's a strong woman. Her feelings ain't gonna be hurt.
Wait a minute, you'll love this one. I'm not the man you need. I'm not the, and you're like, or
that's the issue.
You let me decide what I need and enjoy you. And it's that thing where either, like you said, they can't handle your shine, so they got to play you small, how they feel about themselves, or they feel small and they blame you for how they feel.
Either way, it's not your problem.
It ain't my problem. And when I tell you, I see this young man, and again, let me add in, this young man is working. He's doing his own thing. He's figuring out what he's going to do. But he's also had challenges of a young man, so I think my appreciation for him is heightened because he shouldn't have this emotional gravitas that he does, so I'm always kind of watching him like, well, how do you know to say that? Or how do you know to be that way? Or how do you know, like, where are you getting this from? And for him, it's basic. And I'm like, it literally is basic. It literally is basic. And we are not getting this bare minimum basic situation. And so I don't know. I don't know if it's because he's younger or if he's just the person that he is. I don't think you need to just go get a young man and think that that's going to be your life course. I don't think that's the answer either. Yeah. But I think if I could give anybody any encouragement from my peaceful companionship, from it being a younger man, it's the same thing I told my friend is, you know what? Be open to where it could come from. Just be open to where that can come from. And it'll probably look different than the direction you Because we kind of were talking about the powerful Black women in the country, and we were talking about Kamala Harris and Ketanji Brown Jackson, and their husbands are white, and you will get some pushback and feedback from certain people like, wow, they got a white man, and it's like, but that white man has loved her in such a way that she done made it to the highest that you know, isn't that something?
I mean, I think that's more of a reflect. That's not more of a reflection on the men they've dealt with in the past, the Black men that they dated in the past, not who they are.
Right.
So, I mean,
again, what are we talking about?
That could be a whole nother discussion.
I was gonna say, you know what?
I was watching her speech.
That is a whole nother conversation.
It is. But as I was watching her speech last night, I was just looking, and I'm looking at two of the most powerful Black women. I know we have other races listening to this, but we're Black, so we talk about Black stuff. But I was looking at two of the most powerful Black women in America, and who's by their side.
All right. And I
actually don't feel a certain way like, oh, why? I get it. But
this is not an anti-Black man statement.
No.
That's what people will hear and be like, oh, see, y'all selling out and the Black. It's not an anti-Black man statement on any level. But it goes back to, if I ended up with a life partner, and if he ended up not being Black, it would not be because I had not tried or made myself accessible or available.
And it wouldn't be my first choice, my second, third, fourth, fifth. It couldn't be, because that has never been my choice.
Right.
But I will never talk about either one of those women for their choice in their husband.
Right.
I just won't do it.
If anything, I appreciate, regardless of race, I appreciate they have a man that they didn't have to play small with.
Yes,
obviously
they did not have to play small, because they're in two of the most powerful offices in America.
Right. So they did not have to play small. And guess what? I mean, Kamala doesn't have children, but Ketanji has children. Like, whatever they did, it seems from the outside, we don't know. They're able to be in concert and in confirmation with each other as a couple of what the plan is. And, you know, when I look at Kamala, even though she doesn't have children, you know, her husband was a very successful attorney. And he's had to say, okay, we got to go move where your job is, you know. And that had to be a conversation, just like how Michelle Obama was a powerful attorney. And she had to move where his job was at. But to be able to see that we had to do that together, that's beautiful. And that is not a race thing. That's hey, I know you ain't no slouch, but you had to maybe dial that thing back to come over here with me. So we must have a conversation about how I'm gonna come back over here with you. It's love. It's love. Partnership. It's a partnership.
That's all you want to be, is with somebody who loves you and allows you to be your best self. Right. Because I don't want to be with anybody that feels like, you know, they have to play down for me.
Right.
If anything, I'm gonna try to push you up there to just be, let's be great together.
Right.
In our own way. And we'll figure out how to do that. So it is, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about, you know, loving somebody.
Right. Loving somebody. If they happen to be 20 plus odd years younger.
Any kind of difference, whether it's different race, a different age, all that kind of stuff comes into play. Just be open to receiving and giving the type of love that you deserve.
That's it. That's all we got. Shoot. I want to be clear. We are not anti-Black men. I am not telling you
it's gonna go viral or something.
Yeah. I'm gonna say, be clear. We are not anti-Black men.
They just gonna take that part.
Look, I am not saying go get no young man. And what else I need to be clear up? I'm like, because y'all only here, folks be hearing part of a thing. And I want to be clear. That ain't what we say.
Well, I mean, they've been doing that. They've been doing that a lot with the recent news, you know, taking clips out of people's shows and just, you know, taking things out of context. I don't care. Y'all.
Cool child. Don't even get me started on that.
I know. I don't really care.
Out of context and said, see? Boy, folks is miserable. But anyway, not y'all. Y'all special. I like y'all. Y'all not miserable. Y'all know folks who are. All right. So anyway, be open, be available to wherever love can come from, and just see about it. You know, don't mean that's gonna be the answer either, but just see about it. Don't just cut it off because of what you thought or what you think, or just be available and see what happens.
Yeah.
That's all we can do, right? In the meantime, and in between, y'all know what I'm trying to say. Oh, no, he didn't.
Girl, yes, he did.